Hey guys, Pat Parker here with 52 books. It's been a couple of months, right? April and May have been bad video making months, so it's time to fix that. Alright, so in April, I moved my family across the country from Mississippi to Utah. And in May, I started a new job and had to get used to all that. So it's been a lot going on, but I figured it is time for a catch-up video. So we'll just jump straight into it. In April, I completed Way of Idan by Philip Chase, Who by Algis Budrys, Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. I did not finish Beloved by Toni Morrison. I found it completely unreadable. That's probably a defect in me rather than in the book, because it's like won all sorts of prizes and supposed to be immaculate writing, but I found it unreadable. I also did not finish Something Wicked This Way Comes, I think because when I read the predecessor, the previous book, it was so bucolic and beautiful that when the tone changes and becomes spooky and darker, it lost me. It may just be a matter of it's not the right time for me to be reading Something Wicked This Way Comes, but in any case, I did not finish it. I was not able to finish it this month. But I did complete some Canticle for Leibowitz. I reread that. Man in the High Castle by P.K. Dick. Showdown at Hogback by Louis L'Amour, and City of Golden Lid. I figured that this will be a very short catch-up video, and I will add more details in videos to come. So I'm not going to throw a whole lot of detail about any of these books that I have completed or not completed this month. That will be in subsequent videos. All right, for May, May has seemed like it should be an off month for reading, but it's actually been an epic month. I think I have read more this month than I have ever read, but it still seems like I've been off the reading project. Anyway, I had planned to read Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This was another one that I found completely unreadable, simply because of its Edwardian, Victorian sort of language. It's like reading Jane Eyre, except not as interesting. I did complete Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut, and one of the most interesting things about it was that it referenced some of my favorite Kurt Vonnegut books, like Mother Night. The guy from Mother Night was mentioned in Slaughterhouse-Five, as was the fellow from Breakfast of Champions. Anyway, I also completed The Overstory by Richard Powers, which is a Pulitzer. That's part of the Pulitzer Prize project, and I completed it, and it was extraordinarily long, but it was sort of captivating in a weird sort of way, and I will get to more of that in future videos. Full Moon by Jim Butcher. This is the second book in the Dresden Files, and most folks consider it the weakest of all the Dresden Files, and just as I was starting to decide that there wasn't anything to this book, he threw in a couple of scenes that completely captivated me, and I will get to that in another video. I also completed this month Pool of Fire by John Christopher, which is the third of the Tripods trilogy. I loved it as much as I did when I was a kid, as much as I did when I reread it in college. I think I've reread it as an adult and then reread it again now. Something that I have not gotten to read until now, and it's been a total life-changing pleasure, is Wayward Pines by Blake Crouch. I read Pines, the first book in Wayward Pines, and it was totally unputdownable. Some people that I admire have called Blake Crouch the new Michael Crichton, and I thought that was sort of hyperbole, but it is not. It is totally apropos to call Blake Crouch the new Michael Crichton, because he is very much like the subject matter, and the type of thing that he writes is a lot like Michael Crichton, but he may have even been better than Michael Crichton ever was. When I got through with Pines, the first of Wayward Pines, I immediately started in on Wayward, which is the second book, and I finished it rapidly. Took a small break from Wayward Pines and read Death Comes for the Archbishop by Willa Cather. Now that's another, Willa Cather is way back in the day, long time ago, like 1930s or something like that. But I have totally enjoyed everything that I have read by Willa Cather. She is a master of literature, and you really would do yourself a favor if you would read like O Pioneers, Death Comes for the Archbishop. The others escape my mind right now, but everything that I've read from Willa Cather is masterful. Then I finished Wayward Pines with the third book, which is Last Town, and the book is, the whole trilogy is just about indescribable, because it is, well, it's just indescribable, because it keeps you hopping and guessing the whole time, and all of your guesses are wrong, because what is happening is not what you think in any of these books. And he managed to finish the third book in the trilogy, which I suspect is the end of the story. I mean, I doubt if he will write more of that, but I would love for him to. But he managed to finish the third book to where you did not know what was happening until the last sentence of the book. I totally recommend that anybody that likes Michael Crichton or loves weird science fiction, loves post-apocalyptic, that might be a little bit of a spoiler, because the whole thing, none of it seems like post-apocalyptic, but it sort of gets there. And if you love those things, read Blake Crouch's Wayward Pines. All right. That brings us to the end of what I have read this month. I am currently reading 1,000 Acres by Jane Smiley, which is another Pulitzer Prize winner. It's fairly recent. It's like 1980s, 1990s, something like that. And as I was reading it, I got to thinking, boy, this sounds an awful lot like it would not take much for the author to jump off into retelling King Lear by Shakespeare. And I read some more, and the feeling that I had read this story before was so sharp that I looked it up in the encyclopedia, and it turns out that 1,000 Acres is a retelling of King Lear by Shakespeare, and it is fantastic. I'm loving every word of it. So that's what I'm reading currently. As for June, next month's TBR, stay tuned.